Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Lamenters, our Lamentations of the Flame Princess campaign. And as a short recap, in the last session, the group had quite an adventure underneath the Cursed Chateau as they explored the caverns, coming across many strange and interesting things, not the least of which were some very dangerous fungi and the frogmen. After deciphering the meaning of the frogmen and activating them magically, the group was able to determine that the frogmen were there to serve a purpose. And the frogmen revealed a secret way out of the chateau. The group then, coming to the surface, was able to regroup with most of the party. And following that, they stumbled upon the gardener, Julian, who they coerced into leading them through the maze. And after a bit of shenanigans in the maze, the group finally arrived at the front gates. And the man posing as Martin, the stable master, who you guys had come to learn was, much like you, an outsider, was quick to go through the gates while the opportunity existed. And he bid you farewell and walked off into the woods. The majority of the group decided to follow, but there was a bit of concern about what happened to the missing two members of the party, Havardr and Liber. And so Bane and Oldrad had held off from following the rest of the group. And this is where we're going to pick up. Bane and Oldrad look back towards the chateau, not willing to abandon Havardr and Liber without knowing what had happened to them, and yet also conflicted because of the fact that the rest of the group was ready to leave this cursed place while the opportunity was open. Claude, what, if anything, do you say to Bane and Oldrad to convince them to leave?
I think we're probably outside now, outside of the whole issue.
So you, Bivoj, Sarah, and Leonard have all stepped outside of the archway. So you're actually outside of the grounds now, looking back at them.
Yeah, like I was saying, we're outside. We're hopefully out of the influence sphere of the chateau, and I feel it's best for our.
I feel as if Claude has frozen up. Sarah, what do you say to having been a victim of the strange magic that occurred that drove you into the caves? Oh, you're back now, Claude. Okay. Sarah, what do you say to the group, to Bane and to Oldrad?
Look, guys, they were reported coming this way. They may have already found their way out. Let's just go. I don't know. I know how you feel, but I can't take this anymore.
And you, Leonard?
I mean, this might be our only way out right now, right here. At least it seems so. Even if we return back for them and find them there, and we get stuck in this chateau for who knows how long, it will not fix anything.
Okay, Claude, what was it that you were going to say to try to convince Bane and Oldrad?
Much the same. We're on the outside. We're probably outside the sphere of influence of the chateau, and I don't think we should risk going back in. So I'd say sorry for them, but I'm going to vote for myself.
The three of you make charisma roll-unders. Claude, what'd you get?
5 against 12, so I'm fine.
Okay, Leonard.
10 against 12.
Okay, Sarah.
Go on to someone else. I can't find my character sheet right now. Jeez.
Okay. Well, I'll say that 2 out of the 3 isn't bad. As they say, as you guys convey the sort of urgency of the opportunity to escape the cursed chateau, Bane and Oldrad reluctantly step forward out of the grounds. And the moment both of them clear the archway that leads into the hedge maze, you see the image of Julian, the gardener, who was standing only a few feet back, begin to fade and then eventually disappear without moving, just fade, almost like a ghost disappearing. As you guys are now together, again, it is morning. You sense, even though there's, you're in a dense forest, you can kind of sense the direction of the sun, and you kind of have a sense for where east is, thus giving you some sense of direction. Where would you like to go, and what direction would you like to go? Sarah.
First, is the chateau still there? Are the grounds still there and everything?
Yep, you're looking. You haven't walked anywhere, so you're looking at it. You see the chateau. You see the grounds,
And we can see the hedge, and it's all still trimmed and
Yes.
proper.
Yep.
Wish I had some paint.
There is a path. Remember that there was a path leading up to the grounds. That path seems to go south, and you recall that orientation is kind of how you recall coming up to the chateau.
Anyone have any tools? Stone working tools or anything?
Not
I want
really.
to scratch a message on this wall saying, "For God's sake, do not enter."
Bivoj actually has a knife he can produce.
Yeah,
and he gives you
can
the knife.
probably, or use my crowbar to scratch it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in
I'll work
short
on
order,
it.
you scratch a message, a warning, into the stone archway.
Is there
And up.
any like high point around?
You could probably climb a tree.
Well, we can check where we threw the rope over and check that place out.
Okay. You walk along the wall, and
If you want to look in.
about 50 feet west, you see the rope that you left.
I'm going to quickly scale the wall
Okay.
and see how it looks, if it has any change between how we first saw it and then after how we found it as we were walking the grounds.
It looks the same, very much the same. From that vantage point, you see over the wall and over the hedge, you see the chateau, you see the other small buildings in the grounds. And you are looking at basically what you just left a few moments ago.
Yeah.
Where
But
did
no
Martin
people moving around.
You don't see anybody moving around on the grounds from where you are.
Yeah. Just like before.
but
I'm going to
did
go
Mar-
back on the outside.
Okay. Leonard?
Yeah. Which way did Martin decide to go?
He started walking down that path to the south.
Okay.
I can't imagine Lord Judain will be very happy to learn that we all figured out how to leave.
He might not care, or might not remember us. So. But yeah, I agree that we shouldn't stay nearby, at least.
Well, I'm telling everyone I meet about this place. Just telling them not even to go. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So,
Okay.
Well, I think we should leave some kind of message down by the gate, so that if Havardr and stuff do manage to get out, that they have a sign of what happened to us and where we were going.
Okay. You do. You scratch a message in, so you have a warning on one column and a message on the other. Now that the group is all together outside of the chateau, are you going to head south down the path in the direction that Martin went?
Yeah, let's try to catch up with him.
Okay. So you guys make a short jog, and the path curves around and heads east, and then you see a stream, which is where you vaguely remember coming across this path in the first place.
Yeah.
And you see two things. Number one, you see Martin, whose real name is Jonas, standing kind of next to a wide tree with his hand on the tree, looking at something close to the stream. And kind of sticking out from behind the stream, you see a couple pairs of boots. And you see he seems to be looking at something behind this tree next to the stream. You guys go over there, and he turns to you and he says, "I think these are your friends," in a soft voice. As you guys approach, you see Havardr and Liber. They are laying down on the ground next to a tree, and they seem to be asleep.
Well, at least somebody got night of sleep, seems so. And I try to poke them with stick or something found nearby.
Okay, you do. Havardr and Liber do not react. Martin gives each of their boots a kick. There's still no reaction.
Oh, man.
You see that they're
find them like
breathing.
this?
You do see that they're breathing.
Any marks on them? Or
You don't see any marks on them.
I put my head down on one of their chests.
Okay, you hear a heartbeat. You see that they're breathing.
And I pinch Havardr's arm.
No reaction.
Well, I guess we got to carry him.
Yeah.
Um,
I want to put my arm around Martin pretty firmly and kind of ask him if this is how he found them or if he knows what's going on with them.
he says, I arrived here minutes before you did. I was going to look for a way to cross this creek, and I saw the boots.
This is bizarre.
They haven't responded. He shakes both of them again, and they're in a deep sleep.
Man,
I'll pick up Havardr and throw him over my shoulder.
You can do that. You are heavily encumbered now because you are already encumbered carrying a boatload of treasure, but you are heavily encumbered.
We've got to make camp somewhere so I can put this load down.
The only other person who could carry Liber would be Claude.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to hand over my pack to Martin.
Okay, he takes it, slings it.
So I have my more reserves to pick up our other hero.
Well, why don't we look around for a way to make a
litter?
A travois. It's a fancy French word. It basically means it's a
sled.
Yeah, you find a forked stick and weave grasses and stuff and pull it along with the you hold on to the forks and drag the pointy point part.
If you guys would like to do that, I'll let each one of you roll a d6. If you have bushcraft and you have more than one chance of success, then that is the skill you'd be using. If you don't have bushcraft, you have a 1 in 6 chance of success.
Okay. I got a 3.
I got a 2.
I'm basically looking for materials.
No.
Oh, I guess I should probably make a roll for your new traveling buddy. I mean, after all, he is a hunter, so let's see if he can pull this off. Nope, a 6. He's like,
Jeez.
you guys spend about 10 minutes collecting branches and trying to weave them together, and it just isn't sturdy enough or structurally sound enough to act in the way that you want. Does anyone do anything else during this time?
No, I don't.
Did we already check the bodies for any signs of tampering? Any type of maybe runes or something that have been placed on them?
I mean, they do have wounds, but they don't look fresh. They look like the wounds that perhaps were sustained in battle the previous night.
Did either of these guys have any discs or statues or anything on them that...
Nope.
Nope.
Is Critter giving them a lick on the face?
Do you command Critter to do that?
No, probably you probably would out of him his own intuition.
Yeah, sure, he does. Nothing happens.
I was hoping the power of love.
Yeah. the
True love.
yucky feel.
Anything else? No? Okay.
No.
So you're going to cross the creek. Anybody who is encumbered needs to make a roll. So you're actually going to roll a d6. So Claude and Bane, each one of you guys need to roll a d6.
That's a 5.
Okay, you slip and fall. And you and Havardr fall into the creek. Bane, what'd you get?
I rolled a 2.
Okay, you do not slip and fall. Claude, when you slip and fall, dropping Havardr into the creek, you notice something. Havardr awakens.
Okay.
A little cold water.
Havardr, you find yourself soaking wet in a cool creek with Claude splashing next to you and the others fording the creek. You have no recollection of how you got here. The last thing you remember is that you guys were in the cavern below the chateau in a room full of bones. You had gone through to another part of the passage and then you blacked out.
Now you see me trying to get back to you to get you back up out of the water.
Just gonna sit up and put my hand on my head. Why does it feel like I dropped in a creek?
Oh my God, Havardr, you're back with us. We just found you.
What do you do?
Who does?
Bane.
Bane.
You're carrying Liber. What do you do?
Am I in the creek?
You're midway through.
All right, I'm gonna set him. What I'm imagining that it's about ankle deep, maybe a little higher, calf deep, maybe.
At the middle, it's about 3 feet deep.
Okay, I'll carry him to the bank.
Yeah.
Set him down and splash some water on his face.
As you do, Liber awakens. In short order, neither Liber nor Havardr remember precisely how they got here. They both have a pretty similar shared memory of being with you guys, being in the ossuary, the bone room under the chateau, going into a cavern, and then just blacked out.
I will maybe, or if anyone what? I will try to ask Martin. Do you remember where you came from when you arrived at the chateau?
He says, "Well, yes, I'd been out on a hunt, and I was camping, and it had been a few days. I not precisely sure how far away I was from town, but I'm fairly certain somewhere in the vicinity of 5 to 10 miles."
Because we had a really long journey outside of civilization before we found out the chateau, so you might have better directions to some village, town, or any.
He says, "Yes, the town of Angner is not far. It shouldn't be. If we head east, we'll either run right into it or we'll get to the river somewhere not far from it, and there's roads that run along the river. So if we make it through the forest, we should be able to get to Angner. Not sure if we're north or south of that, but for sure I know that if we head east, we'll run into either the river or the town."
We should move post haste. I feel like we need to regain our bearings and figure out what the hell is going on around here.
Yep.
He says, "I should let you know that some of you know this, but for the rest of you, I am not Martin. My name is Jonas. I'm from the Borderlands, and when I came upon the chateau, I hid, and I was discovered hiding in the stables by the actual stable master, Martin. He tried to kill me, and I'm fairly certain he was trying to eat me as he kept biting towards me. And I was able to kill him. I hid his body underneath a pile of hay, and then I found a hiding spot in the hayloft. The next morning when I tried to come out, I encountered the stable boy, and he just referred to me as Martin. So I played along."
Did the housemaster never realize that you were not the same person?
Lord Jourdain never saw me.
Oh, I see.
Which I think may have been my salvation.
I should say we saw some really weird stuff in the basement. This cloak, for instance.
Well, not just the basement.
Yeah.
All the
Everywhere.
grounds.
He says, "Well, we should travel while there's light. I
Yeah.
would not want to be in these woods at night."
Agreed.
Yeah.
You guys begin trekking off to the east. And after quite a few miles, you're not really sure how far, you arrive, you kind of come out of the denser part of the forest, and it's a little more sparse woods. And a couple hundred yards up from where you come out of the forest, you see a river, a significant river, a big river. And Jonas is like, "Ah, there we go." He says, "I told you we'd come across the river." And you continue walking, and there's a dirt path that kind of follows along this bank of the river.
What's this river called?
So he looks for a moment. He looks north and south along the river, and you can tell that he's trying to kind of get his bearings. He says, "This is the Nargan River. It's the large river that flows from the mountains to the north, all the way south through the Borderlands to Southport." And you recognize the name of the river. He says, "Now, I'm not sure if we are north of Angner or south of Angner." And he's looking around for kind of like landmarks. He says if we're north of Angner, I'm not sure if we're closer to Angner or if we're closer to Lee County. And as he says this, Claude, you make an intelligence roll under.
That's a 9, and my int is... yeah, that's 2 under.
All right, you have a flash of your time in the militia of Lee County. And you as you're kind of thinking about this, it comes into your mind, and you have the vision of Lee Castle up on the hill overlooking the town of Lee. You see mountains in the distance, and then you kind of come back to the present, and as you look like upriver and downriver, you don't see mountains in the distance. You're not within your range of view, so you feel like maybe you're not close to Lee County.
Yeah. Well, for my memories of living in Lee County, I'm not seeing what I would expect to see up north. So I think we're further down south than Lee County. So we're probably might be south of Anger.
Jonas nods. He says, "Yes, it's hard to tell, but if we are near Anger, then we could be between Anger or Oak Point. Do we go north or south? What think you?"
I would think south being the better guess.
Yeah, let's go south. It always feels like you're going downhill.
He
I'm
nods.
gonna pull out my map as we move. Yeah, but since I can't read, I'm just gonna look like I know what I'm doing.
Hey, let me see that.
I'll hand it over.
So, Claude, where do you think we are about?
I'm thinking we're. Do I know how far Lee County and Anger are apart?
Like 45 to 50 miles.
All right.
So it's Lee Castle, this one way at the north?
Yes.
On the border?
Yeah.
Okay.
The distance, roughly, because it's kind of a winding road situation, the distance between Oak Point and Anger overland is more like 25 miles.
Yeah. I'm gonna put my finger like third closest to not Anger, the other
Oak Point.
Oak Point. Guessing we're a third closer to Oak Point than to Anger.
So the river goes north and south here?
The river flows south. It comes from the mountains in the north and it flows south.
Yeah, I think we're approaching this bend right here. I have a map here.
You, if you're deciding to go south, then you can begin to walk along that road.
Yeah.
And you guys walk for about 5 miles along the road, making overall like better time than you had been going through kind of the difficult terrain of the forest. And you see up ahead as you're walking south what looks like maybe a little settlement of some kind. You see, kind of smoke coming up perhaps from a chimney, and you see what looks like a large building. And by large, I mean not like tall, just kind of a sprawling building. And it looks kind of like a cross between a barn and a cottage. But it's you're about 100 meters away from it, approaching it, and you see that it's maybe 50 feet off of the main road, and there's a little wooden fence kind of around the immediate property, and a couple trees as you're approaching it. You get closer, you see that in fact the chimney is going. You see smoke from the chimney. And as you get even closer, you see that there's a gate in the fence that leads to a path that goes directly up to it. And you see a wooden sign. It's hanging over the front entrance, and it says "The Soldier's Rest," and it has sort of a simple picture of a soldier kind of sitting, leaning up against a tree.
Oh, civilization. This is great.
Jonas says, "Oh, I know where we are."
And which is?
He says that's an inn. That's the Soldier's Rest. We're about halfway between Agner and Oak Point. Maybe a little closer to Oak Point.
Do we want to stock up on some supplies if we want to continue or
He
rest
says
here?
not only is it an inn, but I believe that it's a trading post as well.
Well, we've been up all night. We need some rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay pretty quietly, and Bane looks pretty heavy.
So
So
you
lighten the load
guys,
a little bit.
kind of start walking up to the door of the inn, and as you are walking up, you see a teenage girl walking from around the back of the inn with a wicker basket full of apples. And she's carrying this wicker basket, and she sees you all walking up, and she says, "Oh, hello, good afternoon."
Good afternoon.
Oh,
Yeah. Hi.
Oh,
Might I have one of those apples?
She says, "Sure, if you could hold the door open for me, sir."
Of course.
So you open the door, and you're pleased to see that when you walk in, there's a what looks like a common room with some tables, a nice hearth with a fire going, and then just beyond that, it looks like kind of a bar, and then some stairs off to the left. And the girl walks in and she says, let me just set these down. And she sets them down, and she says, "I'll wash off a few of them for you. If you'd like, have a seat. My father or mother should be here shortly."
Thank you.
Thank you.
And she kind of proceeds over to the back behind the counter. She sets the basket down and grabs a pitcher of water, pours it into a bowl, and starts washing the apples. A few moments after that, you see a man who looks like he's probably, in his 40s. He's got kind of a scraggly beard and gray hair, and he comes through a door just behind the girl. And you see that he's pretty well built. And he walks out and he says, he looks at the group of you and he says, "Good afternoon."
good afternoon, sir. Do you
Good
have
afternoon.
Very good.
supplies?
I take off my pack, take off my bow, put the sword down, and just slump into a chair. Kind of hold my head in my hands. Just so tired.
Yeah. Would it be possible to rest around here and possibly get some meal?
Of course. That is why we're here. Please, have a seat. Make yourselves comfortable.
I'm gonna head over to the bar where the young lady was washing those apples.
Yep.
Sorry, ma'am. Can I have that bowl of water when you're done with this, so I can get it to my dog Critter, so he can have a drink?
She says, "Oh, certainly." She smiles. She finishes up what she's doing, and she carefully hands you the bowl.
take it back to our table and put it on the ground. And here you go, critter.
You do, and in a few moments, the teenage girl walks over. She sets down fresh pitchers of water, wooden mugs. She sets down a bowl of cleaned apples, and she says, "I'll be right back with some lunch."
Can I have a small question for you? It's gonna sound odd, but we've been going through some stuff, and what year is this?
She looks at you, and she laughs. She says,
I know, strange question, sorry.
She says it's 1134.
Okay, that tracks.
Oh, great. Good.
She says, "We'll bring out some food for you in just a few moments." And she walks back, goes through the door. You hear the sound of pots and pans and things happening in the kitchen.
I start guzzling some of that water.
You hear the sound of like running up above, like from the second floor. And a few moments later, you see a pack of kids run down the stairs, kind of in a spread of all ages. Some younger kids who, are kind of laughing and chasing each other. And then a little kid who was like carrying a little wooden toy. And then at the end of it is another girl who's probably a young teenager. And she says, "Quiet, you all. Go outside and play." And then she kind of curtsies to you when she gets to the bottom of the stairs. And she leads the pack of kids outside. After a few more moments, the man comes out. He's carrying 2 platters of food, which he sets down at the tables that you guys are seated at, consisting of what looks like some freshly roasted chicken, vegetables, some more fruit, and a couple loaves of bread. The girl comes out following him, carrying some plates with like cheese and cold cuts. He sets that out and he says, "Now, would you folks be interested in rooms as well?"
Definitely.
Most definitely.
I'm stuffing my face. I'm not saying anything.
He says, "Well, I have 4 rooms available, but you'll have to double up as there are 8 of you."
We're
We're
accustomed
used
to
to it by now.
A room is appreciated.
Yeah.
Certainly. Well, I'll show you the rooms after you're done. Please enjoy your meals. And he smiles and walks back into the kitchen. He kind of wipes his hands on his towel over his shoulder and he walks back into the kitchen. The girl comes over and she doesn't sit at one of the tables with you, but she sits at the third table and just is kind of watching it. She says, "So where are you from?"
I'm from Lee Castle, Lee County.
"Oh, indeed. How is it there?"
It's been a while since I've been there, but I would say it should be fine.
We've had travelers from there from time to time, people who are heading south.
What's the latest news you got from up there?
She says, "Well, usually just people trying to get out and go south. Sometimes they come by the river, but that's become dangerous, so mostly just folks coming down the road."
Is there anything going on up there that people are going down south, or is there anything happening down south that people are attracted to, or? Like I said,
Well,
we've been out of it for a while, so.
She says, I guess it just depends on what side you're on.
Side?
I
What do you mean
stop eating
side?
my mouth full, kind of looking at her.
Well, I mean, I guess there are people in the north who are loyal, and then people in the north who are afraid of the war, and so they want to leave and go south. Then some people who just don't want to be there anymore. And I guess you could say that it's the same way for the south. Some people who are loyal and want to stay there, and some people who don't want to be there anymore.
When did this war start?
She says, some years ago, I think it was just before I was born. My father fought in the first wars.
I'd love to speak with him.
Does that ring any bell with me from what I know of Lee County history?
It rings no bells whatsoever.
What is your name, little one?
I'm Gabriella. I'm the oldest daughter.
Gabriella, I appreciate your hospitality.
She says, well, of course, but where are you from, sir? You seem like you might have been a soldier. You're big and strong like my father. My father's name is Griswold. We're the Herzogs.
Griswold. That is a strong name. Strong name indeed. I'm afraid I'm not quite sure where I'm from. A bit of nowhere, I suppose.
Oh, a traveler? What lands have you seen? Have you been to Southport? Have you been to the west? Have you been to the east?
Easy. Your questions will be answered in time. We are still trying to figure some things out, if you don't mind.
Are you the escorts for that lady? And she looks at Sarah.
Me?
She is a great warrior as well.
I'm no one special.
You're a warrior? Where are you from?
I'm from the Eastern Kingdoms.
You are?
Yeah, Celestia.
What's it like there? I've heard so many things.
Oh, yeah. I look at my food, I look at her, I go, okay guys, this might take a while. So I'll sit down and I'll answer all her questions as best I can.
She says, is it true that the rivers in the east are full of gnashers?
Full of what?
Gnashers.
Okay, do I know what gnashers are?
The biters.
You've heard of
dead.
You've heard of gnashers as kind of like folklore. You've never encountered one, but they're supposed to be kind of river monsters.
Are they real, or
you've never encountered one?
You've
heard stories.
Maybe some of the rivers, but I've never seen one. They kind of keep to themselves, I think.
She says, is it true that some of the mountains have vampires in them?
If it's what you've heard.
You listen to far too many fairy tales, little one.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I've never met a thing that wouldn't bleed at my blade.
Some travelers have said that the Eastern Church is ruled by vampires.
No, they're the members of the Eastern Church are quite charitable and peaceful. They are not given to lavish ornamentation and robes of satin and stuff like that. We have simple services, no flash, no bang, no glorious whatever. They help the poor, basically. My family has given much money to that church to help the poor in our lands.
I lean into Gabriella. Sounds like a boring bunch of vampires, if you ask me.
Yeah,
She-
very boring.
She giggles. She's like, do you think it's true that what the church is saying about the low people?
Oh, the low people? What are they saying about the low people? Is that they're monsters? They're of a monster race, and they
say that the heretics are in league with the low people, and that they're raising great armies of Ordur to fight against the church.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't think they can.
Some
They can
people
even
say
raise
that some people say that that's the only reason why Lee County has remained independent from the church.
Oh, really? Well, I don't think they're smart enough to raise their hand to their face to wipe snot out of their nose. I mean, I'm thinking I haven't never met one, but I don't know. I heard they're quite crude, and they don't have a lot of good habits, but I've never met one, so I don't know.
I've never met any either. I've just met people who've come from the north to leave Lee County.
And why are they leaving Lee County?
They say that Lee County is in league with the heretics, that they defy the church.
Oh, you mean the people who worship the old religion?
Yes.
Oh, heck. They're always saying that. They said that when I was a kid. I mean, come on. They'll always say that. Just leave them alone.
Religion has always had a way of tearing a people apart. Since as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
As you guys are saying this, from another door behind the bar, not the door that seemingly went off into the pantry and the kitchen, you see a woman who's a little bit older, carrying a stack of linens, kind of like up on her shoulder. She comes out the door and she looks over and she says, "Good afternoon, folks. Welcome."
Nod.
She
Hello.
says, "Gabriella, come, help me make up the beds." And Gabriella gets up and she's like, "Yes, mother." And they both start to go upstairs. You guys hear the sound of the kids running around in the yard outside of the inn. And it seems to be, I guess by now it's probably a little bit after noon because you guys trekked for most of the morning. But the hot meal that you've enjoyed, though not nearly as extravagant as that which was served to you by Lord Jadain, is still very, very filling and very hearty. Simple food. But you start to feel the exhaustion kicking in. Having been awake all night, having been injured, and as you're finishing up your lunch, the man comes out from the kitchen. He looks like he's cleaned up a little bit, and he says, "How was your meal, folks?"
Excellent.
It was great.
It was
Excellent.
exactly what I needed.
Best meal I've had in weeks.
My pleasures, my pleasures. My wife is just finishing up making up the rooms. So if you would like, I can collect coin for your night as well as the meals. We will have dinner, but if you would like to go up and rest until dinner, you are more than welcome to.
Most
What
definitely.
What is the standard rate for one night in your establishment, sir?
5 silver pieces per person, sir.
I give him.
But I
5
assure
gold.
you, as you
I give
probably
him 5.
saw, you give him 5 gold.
5 gold, and say this is for the party. This is for whatever we may need while we're here.
He, like, his face just, his jaw drops. He's looking at the gold and he's like, "Sir, thank you. I cannot begin to tell you how much this will aid my family.
I will only ask for your discretion.
He says, what do you mean?
If anyone comes looking for us, asking about us, anything at all, you will come to me and you will report this to me and I will investigate further.
Ah, I see. And then you notice he kind of looks at the group of you and he says, may I ask, sir, if you know of anyone coming to look for you specifically, like what I should look out for?
We are missing a couple from our party that we are anticipating, but there are others that...
Sorry, that's my clarification. Everybody's with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Bivoj, Liber,
okay.
Oldrad, they're all with you.
We have just left a very compromising situation. I won't go into detail at this point, but it may come a time when I'll have to talk to you and tell you what we have encountered. But they were not some savory folks, and
he says,
I don't want...
Sir, please, with all due respect, I just need to know, are you refugees?
No.
We are not. We are not.
Oh.
No.
Neither
From time to time, the Imperial Army sends patrols looking for heretics. I served in the Imperial Army after the Great Storm.
We are simply travelers, and there are people that may want what we have or what we possess or what we know about.
Neither are we criminals, sir. I can assure you of that.
You seem like trustworthy folk. I'll not intrude on your private business any further, but I thank you. This sum is more than generous. Please let me guide you upstairs. He walks over to the stairwell opposite of the hearth and starts going up the stairs. And when you guys get to the top of the stairs, you see a simple hallway, and you see 4 doors. Each of them are open, and you see coming out of the last room his wife and daughter, and the wife says, all the rooms are made up, and she kind of does a bow, and the daughter does a curtsy, and they kind of walk past you. He says, please, the rooms are all of yours. Enjoy your rest. I will hope to see you at supper time. And
come and wake us up if we're not already down there.
I want to step out into the hall and talk
as you wish
after everyone gets settled.
Do I feel exhausted?
You do. Despite being in a strange sleep state, you are not rested. All of you find that the rooms, though humble, are perfectly accommodating. Each room has 2 beds with a small armoire and a wooden chest if you desire to store your goods. Griswold hands 4 keys out, 1 for each room, to those who choose their rooms. And then he kind of bows again and then goes downstairs.
Griswold, before you leave, let me speak with you for a moment.
He says, yes, sir.
I step out while everyone's loading up their stuff. I'm wondering, I am very encumbered, if you haven't noticed. I'm wondering if there is a vault of sorts or some type of a banking institution anywhere nearby.
He says, well, certainly in Anger, if you wanted to go north, or in Oak Point, if you wanted to go south. Anger is, I suppose you could say, it is neutral. It's not really under the protectorate of Lee County, but it's certainly not occupied as Oak Point or the rest of the southern parts of the Borderlands.
And
so it's a tricky question. It comes down to whether or not you trust the Empire.
That is the question indeed. I don't know who to trust. You seem trustworthy though.
He says, sir, I served the Empire. I was conscripted, as were all men of my age. And we did and saw many things that still occupy my thoughts and haunt me. And he says, truth be told, it's not that I lost my faith, for I still do truly believe in the one true God. But I do not believe that the church or the empire represents the one true God's true intentions. I think they act of their own lust for power.
I would say that it has been my experience as well. I would say this.
He looks at you and he says, so meta moment, how old is Bane?
38 to 45, somewhere in that. Old enough to know better, but not so old that he's...
So you're pretty close to his age. So he looks at you and he says, did you serve as well? In the Imperial War?
Did I? I don't know anything about my past, meta.
None of this sounds familiar to you.
Okay.
None of it sounds familiar.
I serve no man, sir. I take care of those that are around me. I take care of myself, and I take care of those that oppose me.
Well said. He said, I cannot, in good conscience, judge anyone for their faith. This alone is blasphemy in the eyes of the Empire. The idea of even accepting someone else who may believe in the old gods is considered heresy.
I have seen a great many things that I cannot readily make sense of. So the jury is still out, as it were.
He nods. He says, I judge each person by their deeds, not based on a fear of retribution from the church or the empire. And thus, I judge you to be a good person. And I hope that whichever way you go, that you find safety.
Your kindness is well received and shall be returned in kind.
He bows and he starts to walk down the stairs.
Then I go back in my room and try to put some stuff in the chest. Is there a way to secure the chest, or is it just an open, anyone that comes in the room could go through the chest?
The only way to secure the room is the one key that you have for each room. Okay. There's a lock on the door for each room, but anything inside the room is not lockable. So, you guys, after a whole night and all day almost of travel, are exhausted. Is anyone going to try to not sleep and push through?
Nope. Definitely going to sleep.
No, sleep. Must sleep.
Trying to dry out my clothes since we gone through the creek and so on.
No, should have been
so
dry by now.
I'm going to make a note, and I need to know which room you're in. So, starting with room 1, which is the one that's closest to the stairs, which 2 people are going to be in that room?
I would take that one.
So Claude and Bane, okay. Room 2, which is the next closest to the stairs.
Probably Leonard.
Okay, Leonard.
Ooh.
And Havardr.
Sure.
Okay, room 3.
Sarah and Veet.
Sarah and Bivoj.
Bivoj, yeah, sorry.
And room 4, we will make Oldrad and Liber. All right, so
that's an interesting combo.
Yeah, I didn't plan it that way, but it's kind of funny. Oldrad and Liber. So all of you,
Jonas is still with us, or
So Jonas is more than happy, since he didn't pay, he's more than happy to sleep on the floor of any of those rooms if you'll have him.
Yeah, heck yeah.
All right, so pick a room for Jonas to be in, Bane.
Which one seems the most roomiest of the 3 rooms?
All 4 of the rooms are the same size. So I'll
Same
put him
size.
into Oldrad and Liber's room.
Okay.
So he's sleeping on a rug in their room. Okay, so
I quickly rolled a d4 and I got 4 on that, so would be
Okay.
the last room.
perfect. So, all right. So you guys are, like I said, you're exhausted. So it doesn't take long for you to, take off your stuff and jump into a bed, and you're out. You are deeply sleeping.
I'm sticking my crowbar under the door, wedging it under the door
Okay.
to help block it.
As a
I will at least look from inside once we are in the room.
Of course.
I
Okay.
don't care. I assume Veet is taking a measure, but I don't care.
Okay.
I'm just laying down. I'm so exhausted.
So in short order, everybody's asleep. Claude and Bane make wisdom roll unders.
What's my wisdom? 5.
That's going to be difficult. Nope. Way over.
6. 12. No, I didn't make it.
Okay, Leonard and Havardr make wisdom roll unders.
16.
I need to check what's my wisdom. It's not high. Yeah, 14. Too much over.
Okay.
We are the dumbest party there's ever been.
Sarah,
We are soundly asleep.
Sarah, make a
can fight,
wisdom
though.
roll under.
I got a 3 of 6.
Yeah.
I rolled under. Yay!
Sarah, you wake up, and through the small window of your bedroom, you see that there is not a lot of sunlight. Like, you feel like maybe it's dusk. And you wake up to that and the sound of people talking downstairs and the smell of food.
Mm.
And you hear some footsteps coming up the stairs.
Well, I'm going to get up and get my regular clothes on, not my armor. I'll just leave that sitting there, and I'm not going to pick up a weapon except for the dagger because I plan to eat with that. And, I'll get dressed, put my boots on, kick Veet's bed, tell him to get up.
Okay, you wake him up. You guys each hear a knock on the door with a soft voice that says, "Supper is ready." And in short order, all of you wake up. What are you bringing with you downstairs to supper, if anything?
Just my dagger.
Okay, Claude?
I'm bringing at least my sword. So and that's probably the only thing really carryable without being too overkill. So I'm bringing my sword.
Bringing
no
Critter?
real armor.
You bringing Critter?
Oh yeah.
Critter's gotta eat too.
Havardr, what are you bringing, if anything?
After the night at the chateau, I am bringing my armor and my weapon.
Okay,
My sword, not my bow.
okay. And Leonard?
From my side, just my regular clothing, and I will try to take ink and quill and my book of notes. Try to summarize what I during the supper, what I went through.
Okay, so you guys kind of start to come out of your rooms, and you see that there is a small wooden shelf in the hallway with a candlestick holder and a candle that's lit. and you hear the sound as you open the doors. You hear the sound of people talking downstairs in the inn, in the dining area. You smell food. So you descend, and when you get down, you see 2 of the tables that you guys ate at before are set with place settings, and there's some like a platter with some cut up apples and some bread and cheese, and a few pitchers of water. And then at the third table, closest to the fireplace, you see a family. There's a man and a woman and a few kids, and they're already eating. And as you guys come down, you see Gabriella and Yarla bringing out platters of steaming hot food for you for your tables. Yarla, the mom, says, "Your supper is served. Would you like any ale or wine, good folk?"
Do you have any cider?
She says, "We do, because we have apple trees."
I would love that.
She says, "My husband also makes a fine mead as well. Would you like both?"
No, just the cider.
I'll take some meat.
I'll do some meat.
I will take some wine.
I'll take some mead.
Very well. And you notice she looks at Liber and she says, and you, Father. And Liber just puts up a hand and says, "Thank you, water is fine." She nods, and then she beckons to her daughter, and they go back into the kitchen. You see that the dad of the family sitting at the table near the fireplace looks up to all of you and nods, and then kind of goes back to eating. And his kids are talking, and his wife seems to be minding the kids. A couple of the kids that are at his table, you recognize as having been out playing when you first arrived. In a few moments, Griswold and his wife come out with a bottle of wine, a bottle of mead, and a bottle of cider. And he says, "Folks, this is my wife, Yarla. She makes the cider, I make the mead, and I hope you enjoy your dinner."
Well received.
He says,
Like,
"Please let us know if you are in need of anything else." And then he turns to his wife and he says, I'm going to lock up the front gate. I'll be back." She says, she nods. She goes back into the kitchen. He walks over to the front door and heads out.
Bane,
Yes,
might want to go with them.
I will. That's a good idea. I'll follow him.
There is a platter of roast beef on the table in front of you with vegetables, with leeks, carrots, and potatoes. Before you do that, you have to make a Constitution saving throw to resist dinner. No, I'm just kidding.
I probably would have to resist, because
Bane-
that sounds fantastic.
Bane wipes the drool as he smells the pepper and rosemary rising up from the soft,
Curse you.
tender meat. And
Curse you, conscious.
Oh, just grab a hunk with your dagger and walk out with it.
Well, the problem is the only dagger that I brought with me is the
Yeah.
the ritualistic one that's hidden under my belt. But I will take my hatchet, hack off a piece of the meat, grab it, stick it in my mouth as I walk out the door.
Okay. The rest of you, I'm assuming, are eating.
Fine dining.
Those of you who are astute enough to notice, you see that the table with the other family, they are not eating this epic feast. Like, they have like a big pot of stew. It kind of looks like maybe the leftover chunks of the meat that you guys have with some vegetables, and they have some bread, but like it's definitely not like the 5 gold piece meal that they're eating. Like, you guys are getting the royal treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Claude, you realize that your dog needs to go out as he is whining. and has not been let out.
Sounds like Critters needs a walk, and I'm just gonna grab my plate and walk out with him.
Okay, you do. Bane, you go out the door and you see Griswold carrying a lantern. You see him about halfway to the front gate by the road. All else seems to be pretty quiet. You hear crickets. They have a little patch of trees, the apple trees, on the property, and then kind of behind the inn is the forest.
I'll stand close enough to help if need be, but to not impose on him either.
Okay. Well, a moment later, Claude comes out with Critter. Critter runs around and starts sniffing around in the yard. He runs over to a tree, pees on the tree. You see Griswold closing the wood gate. It creaks. He closes it, and then you notice him kind of pause, and you notice him looking down the road a bit, kind of to the south. And then you see he turns and starts running towards the inn.
What is it?
He says, I believe a patrol. He says, excuse me, sir. Excuse me. And he runs, literally will run in past you.
I'll return back inside.
The rest of you are eating, and Griswold suddenly bursts through the door. And when he comes in through the door urgently, he turns and runs past your tables to the table with the family. And he says, patrol. And almost like if on cue, they literally set down their utensils on their plates and grab everything and bring it into the kitchen, including the children. Like the wife gathers up the children, the husband and Griswold gather up all their plates and everything that's on the table and start going towards the kitchen. Griswold's wife, Yarla, comes out of the kitchen at the same time as they're coming in, and you hear Griswold again say, patrol. And she runs over to the table that the family was sitting at, whips off a towel over her shoulder and starts wiping down the table, and then she runs back into the kitchen. Bane,
I'm going to run up to my room and gear up.
Okay, you run up to your room and gear up. Claude, Critter is just sniffing around the yard now.
Mm-hmm. You probably understand my orders to the point of, are you sensing anything, Critter? What are you sensing?
Critter goes over to the gate, and you see him kind of sniffing. You see his ears go up.
All right.
And
I heard
he barks.
All right. And I heard Griswold saying to Bane about the guards.
Yeah, you heard him say patrol.
All right. I'm gonna look that way, both ways, and.
So, do you go out by the gate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just see what he saw.
You have just a little bit of moonlight because the sun's gone down by this point, and you see down the road. You see what looks like maybe 3 horsemen kind of approaching, not at a gallop, but like at a trot.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a guesstimate of how long it will take to get here.
You think maybe a minute.
All right.
Like they're close.
Okay.
But you're not carrying a light source, so you could kind of see them. You're not sure if they could see you.
Yeah. I'm gonna make my way back and inform the party that by that time there's a patrol about 30 seconds out.
Okay.
And looking by the reaction, there's something going on. So.
Yeah. I will hide my notes because I don't want to check them, at least on my person. And
okay, as
meta moment when I was talking to what's the name of the guy?
Griswold.
Griswold.
When I was talking to Griswold and he was talking about the Imperials and the god that they served, he mentioned that they were stewards of the one true God, correct? Or did he say
Yes,
at all?
he didn't specifically say, so you don't know which church. You don't know if it's the Eastern Church or the Western Church, but he said that the church and the Empire's intentions, in his opinion, did not serve the will of the one true God.
Copy. Okay.
That he had served in the Imperial Army, but it left a bad taste in his mouth was the gist of what you got.
And that they were rounding up non-believers, correct? Or heretics?
Yes.
Okay.
As you are up in your room, the rest of you guys are sitting at the table. This very confusing but sudden and very quickly executed thing starts happening. Griswold comes back out from the kitchen and he goes up to your table and he says, "Good people, I ask of you a favor now, even though I am not owed one. But if you can find it in your hearts to have the compassion, please do not say anything of the family that you saw here. They are refugees."
That
What,
was well understood.
what
And
family?
the Empire, he says, and the Empire does not distinguish when it comes to heretics between adults and children, if you take my meaning.
I didn't see anyone else but us here, and I get even more comfortable and hold my cider in both hands.
He
Lean
smiles.
back.
He smiles uneasily, and then he nods to you, and he goes behind the bar, and he just starts polishing some glassware.
I return to the table with my armor on and my sword, and with the necklace of the one true God that I found on our travels.
Okay.
Plainly visible on my neck.
Okay. All right. About 2 minutes later, you hear the sound of a bell outside. Griswold kind of heaves a sigh. He sets down his mugs and his towel, and he heads over to the door. And about 3 minutes go by. And then you hear the sound of the gate creaking. And a minute after that or so, you hear the front door open and you see Griswold walk in. And you hear him saying, "If you'd like, there's a table over there, and I'll bring you some dinner momentarily then." And you hear the voice of a woman say, "Yes, that would be suitable, thank you." And entering behind Griswold, you see 2 women and 2 men. Both of them are wearing kind of common travel clothes. Nothing fancy, nothing noble. They do have like light weapons, like the men have short swords. One of the women has a short bow kind of slung over her shoulder with a quiver of arrows. And then the other just is wearing like common clothes with no obvious weaponry. And they kind of look in at you guys, and one of the women nods and smiles and walks past all of you. And the 4 of them sit down at the table that was previously occupied by the family. They sit down, and the first woman says, "Oh, what a relief just to be able to sit and not have to ride all day." And the men kind of nod, and one of the men is like, "I hope his ale is at least strong."
I'd recommend the mead.
They turn, look at you, and one of the other men says, "Ah, mead. Well, that's a good sign. Thank you." And the woman without the bow, the woman with the bow so far hasn't like said anything. She's just sitting kind of facing the fire, so she has her back to you guys. But the woman without the bow turns and she smiles and she says, "Well, if the food is anything like that which lays upon your table, I think we'll be in good shape. And she smiles. And she says, are you traveling as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been on the road for quite some time.
Yeah, we've seen some rough things. I hold up my left hand.
She says, oh my. She says, have you been victims of the war as well?
Yeah. You could say that.
She says, well, we were hoping to be able to make it a lot further, but as you can imagine, there are checkpoints along the roads, and having to be stopped and have our packs inspected constantly by patrols slows down travel quite a bit. And one of the men says, that's enough, Katharina. And she looks at him and shrugs and kind of turns back to her table.
I look over at them, just trying to ascertain any type of threat that could potentially be posed from any of the party. See who's got what, who's sitting where.
So the two women are sitting on the same side, and they are facing the fireplace. So they have their backs to you. So when the woman who was just now identified as Katarina, when she turned to talk to you, she literally turned around to talk to you. The two men have their backs to the fire and are facing you guys. And the two men have swords.
I lean over the table and I say, Katarina.
Thought we had heard the last of that name.
What was the family name? Aowe or something?
Any information that we have, I would keep to ourselves until we have a better assessment of what's going on here.
A few moments pass, and during this time, you hear the door to the kitchen swing open, and you see Griswold and Jarla come out with a platter of food, similar to what you guys have, and they lay it on the table, set down some bread and a little bowl of apples, and one of the men says, I'll have mead. The other man says, I'll have ale. And Jarla nods. Katarina says, do you have any wine? I would love some wine if you have it. And Jarla nods. The last woman with the bow doesn't say anything. And there's an awkward moment. And then Jarla does a curtsy and walks back into the kitchen.
I'm gonna hand signal Critter to mosey on over to their table and basically smell them out for me to see how they react to Critter.
Okay. Critter kind of goes over there and sort of smells. You notice the men just kind of look at him. They look at him and ignore him, and they start digging into the food.
Right.
You notice that the woman who you've identified as Katarina, she smiles and she says, "Oh, is this one of your hounds? He seems like a nice dog. Is he friendly?"
Oh, sorry. Did Critter wander over to you guys? Sorry about. He's friendly.
She puts her open hand out to Critter, and he sniffs it and licks her hand, and she pets him. And then Critter kind of goes over towards the other side of the table with the woman with the bow, and you see him sniffing her, like her shoes and her legs, and the woman with the bow just kind of gently kind of kicks his snout away, and he sort of comes back over by you.
Right. And I noticed that little nudge she gave.
Yeah.
Was it out of sight?
No, you notice it.
Okay. Make a mental note.
They all start eating. Jarla returns with their drinks. They're having drinks. And after a few minutes, you see Gabriella, the daughter, come out. And she has a small mandolin. And she comes up to kind of in between all three of the tables. So she goes to the center table and she says, "May I entertain you with some songs?" And Katerina turns and she says, "Oh, lovely, please do." And you see the men just shrug and nod as they continue to eat. Gabriella sits down on one of the stools by the bar and begins to play. And it's basically okay. She hits a few bad notes, but you could tell like she's probably been practicing this for a while, and she plays about 3 songs. After each song, Katerina claps and says, "Well done." What is your reaction during this time?
I will listen to like first to second song, and then if my meal is finished, I will try to return to the room upstairs.
Okay, so I would say during the second song, you finish your meal and you head back upstairs.
Yep.
You notice that Liber and Oldrad do the same thing. They kind of finish their meals and they go upstairs.
Great evening. Head up.
Liber bids all of you a good night. He goes upstairs. Oldrad kind of just nods at everyone and goes upstairs.
Yeah. And there was a candle upstairs lit up.
Yes.
Or something.
Yeah, in the hall.
Yeah.
Each room also has a candlestick holder and a candle in it.
Yeah. Okay, so I will not go to sleep, but try to scribble. We'll continue scribbling.
Okay. After the third song, Gabriella does like a curtsy, and again, like Katerina claps, and then you notice she nudges one of the guys, and he puts down his fork and knife, and he claps, and the others clap, except for the woman with the bow. She doesn't clap. She's just eating.
Well, I'll clap, and I'll take out 10 coppers and give them to the girl.
She says, "Oh, you are too kind, my lady. Thank you." And she curtsies to you again.
No problem.
You were all finished eating.
I basically continue to graze on what's left. I mean,
you notice at a certain point, Griswold comes out and he says, "How was your dinner?" He goes to each table and asks how your dinner was. And when he gets over to the third table with the 4 others, he asks how their dinner was. And for the first time, the woman with the bow speaks and she says, "Do you have an outhouse or am I to shit up against a tree?" And he says, "No, ma'am, we do have an outhouse. If you go out the door, it's just to the left." And she says, And she gets up, kind of swings her legs over the bench, and just walks past your table towards the front door. You notice the men that she was traveling with kind of like chuckle a little bit. And they say, and one of them says, "More drinks, please."
Are they getting a room?
Well, if they are, you're not sure exactly what room there would be because you guys are occupying all 4 of the rooms upstairs.
Okay.
You notice Griswold nod to the request for more drinks. He goes back into the kitchen and pantry. And Katerina, like, lifts her leg up and kind of circles around to face you guys. And she says, "So, we're traveling to the north, to Angner." She says, "Do you know how far it is from here?"
What's it about?
I'd start out in the morning.
Yes, likely. Unfortunately, the innkeeper told us there were no rooms available, so we'll likely just have to go camp.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Is it safe here? I've heard some rumors. So one of the rumors was that the heretic Ludwig Steiner has been spotted in the area.
Really? Ludwig Steiner himself? Ah,
Do you know of him?
I've heard of him.
She says, apparently he's a very dangerous man.
Do tell. I've only heard
Well,
rumors.
As well as I have only heard rumors as well, but apparently he's very wanted by the Empire for his crimes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Well, if you want to camp and be relatively safe, you can ask Mr. Griswold if you can put up your tents in the within the court area.
Hey, why not hey, Veet, you don't mind bunking with me if the ladies can take our other bed, right?
Bivoj's like, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
And she says, you would offer a bed? That would be very generous of you. I'd be willing to pay.
Well, you probably would have to pay the innkeeper. Ours is already paid for, but settle up with him, and you're welcome to the other bed in the room, you and whoever else.
And she says, well, and she looks to the guys and she says, you don't mind camping, do you? And they shrug. And one of them's like, no problem. No different from the last few nights. And she says, well, I'm sure Anna won't mind. She's more suited to outdoors than indoors anyway. I apologize for her rather rude demeanor.
Well, she's a soldier. I recognize that.
Oh, no, not a soldier. She's a guide. She's
okay.
Mostly a hunter, but she's a guide. You see, we've never been north of Oak Point, and we've heard so many rumors about the dangers to the north.
Do not go to the northwest.
Really?
There is a dangerous place on the other side of the northwest woods. Once you enter, it takes great cunning to leave.
What is this place? This sounds very mysterious.
It is, and I can't explain it exactly, but we left a message on the outside by the gate saying, don't go in. Just don't.
Is it some kind of fort or a town or a castle?
It's an old manor house.
Old manor house.
Yeah.
I've not heard of such a place. Though again, I'm not overly familiar with the nature of the north of the borderlands.
Yeah, a very old family used to live there. And I wonder
Let's just say
sometimes.
it's haunted.
Yeah,
Haunted.
yeah. You don't
Surely
go there.
you jest with me.
I hold up my left hand.
She says, oh my.
Don't go there. I was lucky to lose so little.
Well, that is certainly a fair warning indeed. She says, so do you come from the north or are you heading north?
Oh, we're heading south. I've got family down. I've got a family business down south.
So you've been north of Oak Point. Have you been to Anger?
No.
Oh, we came from the northwest, mostly west.
I wasn't familiar that there were any settlements or villages in Northwest. I thought it was just the wild country.
Yeah, it's
You would
pretty
be right.
wild. Yeah.
You lived there?
Camped out a lot.
Yeah.
I thought that it was overrun by the low people.
Not that we noticed. It's a large area.
I see. And she says, well, I shall have to get a few things from the horses, from the saddlebags, for the evening. But again, I'm very grateful for your offer. She says,
Yeah.
would you gentlemen accompany me out to the horses? And they nod. So she does kind of a curtsy, a polite curtsy, and she and the two guys leave. When the door closes, about 3 seconds after the door closes, Griswold comes out from the kitchen and he kind of looks into the room. And he goes up to your table and leans in and he says, are they all gone?
No. The lady is going to be staying up in our room.
Did she ask about anyone?
No. I just wanted to get Yarla and maybe change the sheets on one of the beds so she can have fresh sheets. I'll help her out.
He says, I don't know what to make of them. He says, I thought when I saw people approaching on horses that perhaps it was a patrol, but they aren't dressed like Imperial soldiers, nor inquisitors, so I'm not sure who they are, but it's best to keep our secret.
Yeah, they sound to be refugees or something. They talked about going through checkpoints and having their bags searched and stuff.
They don't look like refugees. And they came from the south, which means they came from occupied territories.
Oh, they came from the north?
No, south.
They came
Heading
from
north.
Okay.
Never
Were they asking questions about the north?
Yeah, just what the dangers are and stuff like that. Yeah, we'd been there, so.
Did they mention anything or anyone in particular?
No.
They mentioned that
the
one guy, that heretic.
Oh, yeah. Ludwig Steiner.
When you say that, his eyes open wide. They asked about Steiner?
Yeah. Well, they just mentioned him.
Good thing that they've left, and double good thing that you are occupying the rooms. He says, Ludwig Steiner is the man who is hiding in my cellars with his family.
I didn't want to know that, and now I do not know that.
He says, please, keep this in confidence. He's a good man, and they've accused him of a terrible thing. They will have no mercy on him or his family.
Okay, that's fine. The lady is going to be staying in the room with Veet and I.
He says, what? Why?
Well, I thought I'd offer.
I told them there were no rooms so that they wouldn't stay.
Does your generosity know no bounds, Sarah?
No. I'm from the Eastern Church, Admiral.
And then you hear the door starting to open, and Griswold immediately switches to starting to clean up the plates at your table.
I'll lead them up to the room.
Katerina comes in with a small bag, and she looks and she says, "Which room would we be using?"
I'll say, "Come with me," and I lead her up to the room.
Thank you.
And once we're up there,
smiles and Griswold smiles and nods and continues to clean up plates. Sarah, you go up the stairs, and you see the hallway candlestick, and you walk down to the third door. Bivoj opens up the door, and you see that he's made some type of effort to clean up his bed. And he is now just wearing basically underclothes, and has all of his stuff stacked up on the same side as yours of the room.
And I apologize, but I slept in this bed. I hope you don't mind.
She says, not at all, but would it be a great imposition if I asked you both to step out so that I could change out of my traveling clothes?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
I'm going to drink more of that cider. It's pretty good.
Bivoj nods and kind of steps out into the hallway. When you're both out of the room, she closes the door and starts changing. Smash cut back to downstairs. Claude, Havardr, and Bane. Griswold finishes cleaning up the dishes, and then he goes, takes them all into the kitchen. So it's just the three of you in the main room.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's still early evening.
No, it's night.
Are
it's
the
dark
escorts
outside.
of the women still at the table next to us?
No, they went out with her.
They're gone.
They have
as-
not
okay.
returned. Neither has the other
scout.
woman with the bow.
Yeah.
Was she attractive, Bill? Would I think she's attractive?
No,
Would my character? Okay.
no. Not.
I was going to check
particularly.
on her.
I kind of, in my mind, I imagine Anna as, Katerina referred to her as Anna when she apologized for her crude behavior. I kind of picture Anna as like Calamity Jane from the TV show Deadwood. She's kind of a brash character.
That's perfect.
So they have not returned. Do you guys look out the windows? So the windows have like cloth curtains, but there's
I'll
two
work my way-
windows
I'll
in the
work-
main room.
I'll look out
Well-
the window. I'll peek out.
Now, I'm
Okay.
going to use Critter as an excuse.
So
I-
when
I
you
gotta
peek
use
out,
the outhouse anyway.
so when you peek out, you notice that the horses are not tied up at the post. The horses are not there, and you don't see anybody else there.
hmm Horses are in the
outside.
stable. I gotta use the outhouse anyway, so.
Okay.
And
I'll
I'm
go
going to
with it.
take Critter again for a walk, mostly as an excuse.
Okay. So, Sarah, you go out to the outhouse with your candle. It's dark. It smells like an outhouse. You don't see anyone out on that side of the yard. Claude, you go walking around the grounds with Critter. You don't see anyone or any horses. You walk over by the stables, and the only animal that's in their stable is a pack mule. That's it. So the four horses that they rode in on are not anywhere there, and you don't see any of the people there.
All right. Heading back over to the gate, are there hoof prints going in and out?
Yes. Yes, there are.
Okay. So they might be camping outside of the inn, in grounds.
Were they robbed?
The invitation was never extended to them. It was just extended to Katerina, right?
Correct.
And Anna.
Yeah.
They were already gone when we. Okay.
No, like I said, I offered them to ask with Griswold if they can stay inside the grounds. I don't think they asked. Apparently they went. It seems to me that they went outside. So I returned back to the inn and.
Of note, the hoof prints leading away also go back south. So it looks like they went back south in the same direction that they came from.
Yeah, and you said the
Well-
escorts were still upstairs, right? Two of the men.
No, the
No, they left.
The two men and
the men walked
the-
out with Katerina when she went to get her bag from the horses.
And only Katerina returned.
Katerina is the only one that came back. Everyone else is gone.
Yep.
Yeah. And it would make sense to me to have them going back south, because that's the area they've already been through, and they might have remembered like this would be a good spot to camp. So I would expect them to go back south, looking
Okay.
for a campground. So
All right. So you return to the inn around the same time as Sarah returns to the inn.
probably a bit later.
Okay. Sarah, what do you do after returning from the outhouse?
I drink one more cup of cider, take a bit of bread, and I head upstairs.
I should mention Bivoj came downstairs while Katerina was changing.
Mhm.
So he's sitting there like basically in his underclothes with you guys in the main room. But upon seeing you return, he will follow you back up to the room.
And when I get up there, I'm going to knock on the door.
Yes. Come in, I'm finished now.
Okay.
And you open the door, you see the candle by the bedside is lit, and you see Katerina in the bed already with the covers pulled up over her. And she says, "Thank you once again for your hospitality. It is most appreciated. I'm more than happy to pay for breakfast in the morning to compensate you."
As you wish. You don't have to.
She says, "Most generous. Good night." And you see she kind of just turns over facing the wall. Leonard and Havardr. Leonard, you're already up in your room. Havardr, do you go up to the room?
Yeah, I'll go up to the room.
Bear in mind, you guys only had like a nap of a few hours, so you're still looking forward to a full night's sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Claude and Bane, do you return to your room?
I'll linger at the table a while longer.
Yeah, I think I would have returned before Havardr went back up, so he would be updated to as the 3 party members not being on the grounds anymore.
Okay.
And I'll ask for a light ale.
Griswold comes out with some additional drinks for you guys, and this time he says, "May I sit at your table?"
Yes,
absolutely.
please.
He sits down. And he leans forward, and he's about to whisper something. Smash cut back to Sarah. Make a wisdom roll under.
All righty then.
The joys of low wisdom.
Yeah, it's all
we
right.
need someone smart in our party, man. Bad. So
Hey, I'm
bad.
smart. I'm just not too wise. Nope.
Okay. So you're tired. Bivoj's like crammed up against the wall on your bed, so you're kind of back to back.
I want to sit up for as long as I can.
Well, at a certain point, the candle's burning down, but you can sit up. It sounds like Bivoj's already dead asleep. And it sounds like, based on the breathing, that Katerina is also asleep. Smash cut back to the main room. Griswold leans forward and in a whisper, he says, "I don't trust that woman. There's something about her."
The kind one.
Yes. Why would they be going north? If they're coming from the south in the Imperial occupied areas, why would they be going north?
I would imagine to escape persecution. Why would anyone travel north?
So if they're planning to escape persecution, that means they do not believe in the tenets of the church. That means that they do not wish to serve the Empire. That means that perhaps they believe in the old gods.
I wonder what that would
Then
mean.
why did the other 3 leave and camp elsewhere when they could have easily set up camp on my property?
That is strange indeed.
He says, "I do not know if it's safe for the Steiners to be here, but I also know it's extremely dangerous for them to try to travel at night with the children."
Well, let me suggest this. I'll speak with the party and see how they feel about it. But perhaps we could escort the family once everyone is gone and we can all leave together.
Would you consider this?
Absolutely.
Is there any...
I'll stay up as long as need be to see if the soldiers return.
He nods. He says, I will advise Ludwig."
What's the deal with Ludwig anyway? We're out of the loop.
He's a younger man. But like me, he was conscripted to serve in the Imperial Army. They've accused him of sabotaging one of their forts and burning it to the ground. And they've claimed that he's responsible for the deaths of 12 soldiers there. But that's not the story that I know of Ludwig Steiner. story that I know is that he took what he could from the fort and took his family and fled. And for that, perhaps he is guilty, but it would only be guilty of mutiny at the very worst. A sacrifice that he needed to make to save his family. He is no heretic, but the crimes that he's accused of will only end with his death and the death of his families if he's caught by the Imperials.
Was he only accused upon his departure, or was there something going on while he was still living there?
The accusations have come since his departure. He looks around and he says, I'm going to advise him of the possibility that you could escort him and his family to safety in the north. But I will tell them to hold their position in the cellar until we know it's safe.
If we do indeed escort them, I would like for him to be forthcoming with us regarding what it is that why they're tracking him down, what type of problems we could run into.
I am sure that for your services that is a debt that he would repay, but I cannot speak for the man himself. He turns and he looks, he says, good night. And he turns and he gets up, walking back into the kitchen. And that is where we'll end this episode of The Lamenters, friends. Tune in to the next episode to find out what happens. Because as they say, sometimes there is no rest for the wicked. Good night and good gaming.
Well, hello, and welcome to Blayne Allen World. I am Wizzy, the Wizard. I'm back once again to remind you to subscribe and click on the notifications button, and also watch videos that are over there. Tune in to the next episode of whatever show you are just watching, and watch other shows featuring Bill. He made me say that because he's a narcissist. Okay, bye.